Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maurice Mullinex, and I'm accomplishing this video for the purpose of project number 3, which is titled I Have a Problem. So one of the things that I want to be frank with you about is the problem that I have is not an uncommon problem in the United States today. I think that I'm not alone in this situation. I have a problem with basically hoarding, because that is a common thing nowadays. I guess in our consumer society, I've versus I want to keep a small footprint versus do I need the tool? I can justify it in my head all the time with turn around and purchasing and buying a tool, whether, and for me that's the big thing is that it's constructive in nature and creative in application. That's the reason why I can justify it so easily. So one of the things that I gotta admit toward is that I come by this problem, and it's not a small problem, it's a big problem, and naturally. So I can remember both sides of my family with grandparents, one stacked to the gills with newspapers on one side of the family, newspapers and articles, magazines and stuff. No room to actually walk around. You had to move magazines, stack of magazines, just to sit down somewhere. That was pretty much the way it was when I went to one side of the grandparents' house to visit, and the other side of the house was electronics goods. He was how do you say, involved in the early implementation of radar. So in the 1930s and 40s, and 50s, maybe really 1950s, primarily. I guess I'm getting my dates wrong, but 1950s and 60s. So you could open a museum basically with the amount of equipment that he hoarded and held on to as well. So, which in turn translated to basically, it was that same way with my parents' house. It was always, what are we doing for summer vacation? Cleaning the garage. Woo, yay. Sounds like a fun project, but it always became a fight and a knockdown, drag out with the stuff we wanted to get rid of, and that was just because we saw no use for the material. As kids, we didn't want it basically. Now that same problem has happened to me, where I have a bunch of tools for creating, whether it's to do with motorcycles or carpentry, or whether it's to do with artwork. It doesn't matter what the situation is. There's items that I know my kids will never use, even long after I'm gone. They just become obsolete products as well. Our consumer society has marketed and developed the materials to where they become obsolete anyway. So as technology improves, nobody wants the old material, and so it just becomes useless. And I hang on to it because I can justify it in my head with, oh, I'm going to use it someday. I'm going to use this tool next week on the next project or whatever the case may be. I'll still hang on to it until basically there's no more room to walk in my garage or my studio for the space to get around in there has become, how do you say, prime real estate. So it basically has developed where there's a couple walking paths, and that's about it. Everything else is cabinet after cabinet stacked with tools. You open the door and it falls on your toes, basically. That's how many tools I've acquired over time. Which is a problem because, like I said, nobody's gonna want to use it as much as me, and I know I'm not the only one out there. It becomes a situation where this is a I would say an addiction that is not uncommon. So even though I have planned process for release, it becomes something that I have to get my friends involved with me, because when I start clearing out, I'll hang on to too much stuff, and it takes a friend to justify I can justify it to myself pretty easily, but I gotta bounce it off of somebody else because they have to help me make the decision to get rid of it, right? Because, and it happens about once every 2 years where I have to go through and clean out the inventory, but of tools. So anyway, I want to admit to the fact that this is a problem, and the video tape helps me do that. So, and clear out a large quantity of tools that basically I know my kids don't want to inherit. So, okay, I've talked enough about my problem, I think. So, thank you for listening, and wish me luck. Okay, thank you.